how do you plan to teach this, or like what's the use of this framework?
Great question. So the way I see it is, for number one, it's sort of a new, as you said, a new framework for the enlightenment path that I've been interested in a while, to try and find some new terminology that's not as scary sounding to people, like enlightenment. People hear that word, and whether they know it or not, a big part of their mind sort of immediately will exclude them from the possibility, right? Well, enlightenment, well, God, it's like the state the Buddha attained. I don't know if that's possible for somebody like me, right? And so I wanted to come up with new language that doesn't carry those limiting beliefs with it, because the mind just wants to compare. So let's take the comparisons out. Let's look at it from a different framework. Let's not call it self-realization, which sounds like some crazy cosmic consciousness thing. Let's just look at it through the lens of self-mastery, right? I just want to master my state of being, master my mind and my energy. And hey, that doesn't sound so impossible, right? After all, like there's nothing you're closer to than your own self. So if you're going to master anything, probably your own self is the most reasonable thing to master. Yeah. So I used a lot of the Law of One teachings on the chakras, and some other models like the David Hawkins scale of consciousness, a lot of Vedantic Hinduism, and one of my other favorite things to study, which is the science of brainwave states. Just my understanding of all these different modalities kind of helped to connect the dots and say, hey, they're all saying the same thing, that there's sort of levels of awareness that we access as we increase our spiritual intelligence. So I thought, well, I need to be able to show a map of spiritual intelligence, or an SQ scale. So I really just took the IQ scale, which most models are 0 to 200. And there's people who've gone above 200, right? High 250s and beyond, but that's extraordinarily rare. So for practical reasons, let's just say 0 to 200, 100 being the average. I think 120 is very intelligent, and above 120, I think 140 is like genius level. So I said, let's make an SQ scale that correlates to the same degree of the IQ scale, meaning if we hear someone has an SQ of 120, we should know that that means right away, oh, that's a very spiritually intelligent person. If they have an SQ of 150, we know, oh, that's an enlightened person, right? So I use different words, but I map it up to the chakras. So the root chakra starts at 50, and that's the state of insanity, or full body identification. So the SQ scale shows the different states of spiritual intelligence. So the lowest state is insanity, root chakra. You could think of it like if the root chakra is left all by itself and it doesn't have help from any of the other 6, you're in a state of insanity, right? It needs to be endowed with the other chakras as well. So sacral chakra is the state of sanity, and that's between 50 and 75. And that's where most people are, maybe not even most, but the average SQ on our planet is somewhere between 45 to 50. So our SQ is way behind our IQ is what that means. Third chakra is solar plexus. That's from 76 to 100. And that's the level of empowerment. So that's when someone at the root chakra level, you're not even interested in personal growth yet. It's like you're just in fight or flight mode, survival mode, full, like everything's about just getting pleasure and avoiding pain. You don't care about developing some great career or life path. You just want to survive the day, and you're suffering a lot. Sanity, the level of the sacral chakra, is when you're starting to be interested in personal growth. Maybe you want to start a business, make a name for yourself or a life for yourself, and you're on a path of trying to improve yourself. The yellow ray, 76 to 100, is the level of empowerment. And that's the level where somebody gets interested in like law of attraction and creating their reality and manifesting things. And a bit of that spiritual element is starting to be introduced. And then that leads to the fourth chakra, which is 101 to 125. That's the level of awakening. When you say someone's awakening, that's the moving into the heart chakra level where you're awakening to oneness, right? Awakening to love and unity. Moving up from there is 126 to 150 is the throat chakra. And that's the state of illumination, which is just another word for enlightenment. And that's where you reach a level of intelligence where you sort of have transcended duality. you know there's really not two separate things in this universe. There's just one thing. And so you live with a lot of inner peace, inner stillness, and you're more interested in knowing yourself than the external world. From there, we move to the third eye level, 151 to 175, and that's the level of mastery, the level of the sage or the saint or the enlightened being. And from 176 to 200 is the state of mastery. From 200, which is crown chakra and above, that's the state of, I just call it singularity, which is like total God intoxication, the level of Christ or the Buddha. People speak sort of like they're God at that level. So that's kind of how I map it out. And it's just to give us a reference frame for where you're at. Mm-hmm. Once you know where you're at in this new model, I'm going to give every level sort of the tools to know, here's what this experience is like. And then here's how you transcend this level. Here's the things to begin focusing on and working towards to get to the next level of SQ. So it's a way to help people see where they're at and sort of map their progress, and to have the tools to know how to transcend to the next level of SQ.
Oh, it's really, yeah, I love it. And you can, and like I could, like anyone listening can sort of like peg themselves of where they are. Like I think I'm probably in this range.
Right.